Number 10, Jacques Fresco said that children will only learn physics, mathematics, chemistry, that is, things that are only useful in society, as he says. But what about sports, which can have an educational sense, for example, when the children learn to interact with each other and learn to deal with frustration if they lose? I think it is very important that children learn how to deal with their feelings and emotions as early as possible. Shouldn't it be a specific subject at school? Dance, theater, sports can also contribute to this emotional education. Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. I wouldn't have to use the medium of sports to express that. It isn't sports or dance or those elements specifically which is needed. It's the children learning how to deal with emotions and not having them fall victim to all the ego issues that people endure today. I completely agree with you. People need to learn to stop valuing themselves by comparing themselves to others. Our commercial society thrives on comparison and competition. I'm nothing but horrified when I continually read about these stories of those that have been affected by the economic problems in the world, and have some of them that have been very well-to-do financially, and because they've lost their occupation, they go home and they kill themselves and their entire family. It's a severe emotional problem defined by their value and survival. And I think it's less survival because some of them are actually quite wealthy in the examples that I had seen. It's just that they've been manipulated to think their self-worth has something to do with their net worth. And I think that's just dramatic and dramatically aberrated. You know, some people, if you say that you don't have a job, some people say, "Oh, he's unemployed." To call somebody unemployed is almost a derogatory comment, isn't it? It's fascinating. You know, he's just an unemployed bum or something to that effect. Back to your point, though, self-improvement's the issue, and in education, that is what is regarded, not competition. And as far as dealing with the emotional issues, you, at a young age, absolutely, Jacques has talked about this a lot. People need to learn how to deal with their frustrations and possible jealousies that might emerge. People need to understand that everyone's different. No one can be the best at anything. In fact, there's no such thing as the best. It's impossible. There's always a build-up constantly through time, generation upon generation, where things are getting things grow and get better and better and better. It was the old Newton quote that I have accomplished what I have done because I have stood on the shoulders of giants. So these issues, I think, will be dealt with, and I completely agree with you. Wish I had more to add to that. I haven't given enough thought to that. But if I was to begin an educational curriculum, the first thing is that kids that are of a cognitive age, meaning that they can speak and they can write, they would learn scientific logic and reasoning, and they would learn how to address emotional reactions. They would learn not fairy tales. They would learn how to think clearly. Logic should be taught in elementary schools. Unfortunately, I think in some schools they might be, but very rarely. Usually it's only in college there's logic approach. Logic is not a complex thing. It doesn't have to be some massive intellectual exercise. But I think if kids were given that, they would be less prone to the superstitious elements. They'd be less prone to give in to the nonsensical notions of nonsensical rhetoric that you would typically see induced by tradition, superstition. Good and evil is just a classic one that I like to throw out there. There's all sorts of issues like that. So I hope that helps.